Hello, welcome to the Creators Guild podcast. I'm Chris Howell, and with me,
Jared Lovelady.
and we are here to talk about all things creative. And we have a guest here with us once again today.
Liz Verity. Hello, guys.
Hey. Liz is going to have we're going to do another Learning with Liz.
Yes.
And we have, as always, you have some good topics prepared for us today.
Yes. Well, I thought it might be fun to talk about last lines. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the opening and how important it is to draw on readers and all that kind of stuff. But like, if you don't hit the ending, you can really tank your story. There was someone who once said that you can take a mediocre story and make it amazing by nailing the ending, but you can take an amazing story and just totally kill it by missing the ending. So endings are really important too, and actually going into writing an ending scene isn't really possible unless you have a specific story you're talking about. But you can look at the last lines and kind of see examples of 7 different ways or types of last lines that can be written to be able to make sure the reader thinks about your book going forward or leaves it off on a good note.
Yeah. So before we get to last lines, because we do want to jump into the topic because it does have, you've got 7 that you want to go
There's
over.
Quite a few.
And we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
We go down some rabbit holes. We want to make sure we have time to get over everything. But also, before you have last lines, you have beginnings. How are you? How have you been?
I am doing good. Yeah. A lot of side projects right now that are kind of pulling me away from writing necessarily, but I'm kind of like you guys. I'm pretty efficient once I can sit down and actually do it. So still getting some stuff done, which is nice.
And they're important side projects.
Yeah.
Like editing book 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you made any progress? You talked a little bit before about side books.
Oh, yes, right. The new project I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I kind of have I have the characters basically figured out. And I have the conflict figured out. So I kind of like plot wise, I don't always sit down and plot books 100% right from the beginning. What I usually do is I try to find the antagonist, and then how I figure out their plan. Like, how are they messing up the world?
Yeah.
And then how does that impact my protagonist? And then why do they get sucked into trying to have to fix it? So I finally got my antagonist identified and their goal figured out. So now I feel like I kind of have an idea on the plot. So right now I'm sitting down and just doing a ton of research on setting. I want to do a world that's mostly winter based. So it's a lot of tundra and just looking into that and how does that work? And it's a different world, so it's not going to be 100% like how our tundra works, but getting an idea of the weather patterns, the type of animals or vegetation, that kind of stuff. So
Is anybody going to say "Let It Go" in the story?
No, but I might have to put that in now that you say it.
Just somewhere in there you have to.
Yeah, just let it go.
Somebody's holding onto a rope and they're saving a person from falling off an icy edge, and they're like, "Let it go,
Just let it
go."
Yeah.
You could be like,
I
almost
like
like they sang it.
Yeah, it's like they sang it into the wind. Yes, I might have to do that. That'd actually be pretty funny. See how many different puns I can put to other worlds.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of the cold. Like, I much prefer winter over summer, so I thought it'd be fun to have a whole world based on that.
Blah. Garbage.
Oh, see, I love it. Like, the race I'm coming up with, they thrive in the winter. Like, if they get too warm, it's actually causes death, versus for us, if we get too cold, you slowly die kind of thing. It's the opposite for them. Yeah. So, like, yeah, this is going to be my dream world.
that is my argument for summer over winter.
Yeah.
Is so the guy that I work with, we both do engineering. So we had to look at this like analytical perspective. So we actually looked up the comparative, like how your body reacts comparatively, heat versus cold, and at what point the extremes, what's the temperature extreme to where your body will react at a similar level to, in both heat and cold.
Yeah.
And for like around freezing temperature, like around 30 degrees outside, it's like 137 degrees
Oh wow.
where before your body, because like I've been in temperatures where it's about 127 degrees,
Oof. I don't
and
think I'd make it.
like working in those conditions, and as long as you stay hydrated and stay out of like direct sun where you're not getting baked, and you're for the activity that you're doing, you're drinking enough water and taking, moderating yourself enough,
Yeah.
it'll be really hot and you'll sweat a lot, and that's about it.
And that's about it.
That's about it. But like you can go outside in like it could be 40 degrees outside, and one little change of you get wet.
hmm
And if you're in that situation enough, you'll die. Or like at 32 degree, at like freezing, like 32 degrees happens all the time,
Yeah.
like all over the world. 137 like doesn't happen anywhere.
Yeah.
But 32 happens all the time, and all you have to do is be in 32 degree weather, and like just being there, be like, and you die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, our bodies are made to be in the warmer weather. I mean, that's why we call it burning calories and, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's always about the warm. That's how you know you're alive, and you go cold in death kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we thrive better in warmer, but I'm glad it's not.
That's my argument for, I'm like, it could be summer all year round, and you risk getting sunburned, and you can
Well,
both.
we evolved in the sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
We're designed to be hot.
I mean, I'm
we
designed
just-
to be extra hot, but that's neither here nor there. No, anyway. So but the characters in your book, they're the opposite.
Yes. Yeah. They're going to be leaning towards the needing the cold in order to survive, which is going to be kind of fun because I'm trying to build a world basically without like the use of fire and things like that, which are going to be very hazardous to them. So yeah, it's been very thought provoking and kind of fun to
Nice.
figure
It's
that
all
out.
right. Everyone is entitled to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. I know I'm like one of the few in the world that love winter, but
Now there's I've met quite a few people, and we've had kind of this discussion, and their
Yeah.
perspective is like, well, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, you're wrong, Colonel Sanders.
oh well, I guess it works. I was born and raised in the South, so everyone I meet says I'm wrong. They much prefer the warmer winter, so the warmer weather, not winter. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I've done roofing, construction, landscaping, concrete work, a lot of work outside.
Yeah.
And working in, if it's 100 degrees outside, even like doing roofing. I've done roofing when it's over 100 degrees. I've done laying sod in 100-degree, just,
Oh my goodness.
80% humidity
Yeah, no.
with no shade, like the sun's beating down on you and everything. But I've done the exact same thing in like freezing below zero temperatures. I've done roofing where I'm in Carhartts
Mhm.
and I have a rappelling harness rigged to the ridge of the roof so that I don't slip and fall,
Mhm.
and there's the wind is blowing and there's snow blowing in my face. Like I've literally been both extremes. And I'm like, I will take the heat
Yeah.
because it is terrible working in those conditions when it's cold.
That makes sense.
Like horrible when it's cold. It really sucks when it's hot. It is horrible doing that in the cold.
Well, that's good to know. I don't think I'd ever be on a roof in the cold that way. At least not with precipitation and ice, but I could imagine that would not be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, typically you try not in those extreme weather, but I'm like, when cases come up where you're like, we've got to
Yeah.
get this done.
Sometimes you have to.
We have to get it done. And like one in particular, I'm on this roof. It's a 2-story house with a walkout below it. So 3 stories up and a
Mhm.
12-12 pitch. So it's a
Oof.
45-degree
Yeah.
angle, and you can't, it's too high in the back of the house to reach the material up with the lift even. So I literally have a rope hooked to this harness or this mechanism that's up on the ridge of the roof,
Hmm.
and I'm putting decking, and it's 1x10 pine decking,
Yeah.
and I'm in between two hips or two valleys, and I've got to swing back and forth across with my Carhartts on and a nail gun or tool belt and a nail gun, and uh, the other workers are handing me material over this ridge because they can get the lift up to the front, but then they have to
Uh,
hand it down, and it's like a 15-foot reach with 12-foot boards.
oh my goodness.
So I got to like rope myself up and grab it, and walking
And
up
then walk
rafters
it
and bring it
down.
down. And it was like 14 degrees outside and snowing with like a 25-mile-an-hour wind.
Yikes.
And I'm like, this is so stupid.
Yeah. That doesn't sound fun at all.
But I did get paid extra for it. So,
Well, okay.
and it was an experience. I
Yeah.
can look back and be like, I experienced
Makes a great
that.
story.
Yeah. But it was terrible. I'm like, I never want to do this ever again.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Anyway, so you have to make sure your snow people know what it's like to deck a roof in
Well, see, they'll have no
freezing.
problem with that. It'll be great.
Yeah. Yep. They'll be like, in
Like,
summer.
this is how it's supposed to happen. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So now you got to throw that in there too. Song
Okay.
about summer from the
Just
Cold
a whole bunch of Frozen
Yeah,
comments,
just
I
reference
guess.
all over the place.
Yeah. All right. I'll work on that.
Well, glad you're doing well. We should dive into our our list of 7,
Yes, we should.
because those 7 are going to take, want to make sure we can get through.
Yes,
Get through
yeah,
all
I
the
have a
different
few
types.
examples to share too, so it might take a little while.
Okay.
So essentially, your last line, the main thing you want to remember about it is you want it to embody fulfillment or like satisfaction, that kind of thing. Like you want them kind of going off like, okay, like that was good ending. Like I feel like it was great. Like even if you don't answer all the questions, you can still kind of give a last line that resonates with people. So you want to make sure you have that. So that's
Now, last lines, are we talking about, are these specifically last lines of a story or last lines of a chapter, last lines of a
So this is
section?
last lines of a book, but it can definitely be added to like chapters as well. It is nice to always, I call it a good ending punch, to have those with every chapter. So essentially, you kind of want to do this with every chapter you end. But this is kind of talking about books in general, but you can definitely apply it to a chapter level. Well,
Gotcha.
I also have movie examples, so books and movies, but like a whole story versus just a section of it. But it definitely can hit both.
Okay.
So the one thing you want to do for the very last line of a story is you want to make sure it matches the tone of the story you set. So if it's been a comedy the whole time, you want to kind of make people end with a laugh. Or if it's been romance, maybe you want them to sigh. Or if it's been horror, maybe you want them to kind of have that tense moment of like, oh my goodness. However you want to do it. But if readers pick up a genre because they want to feel a certain way. They want that certain emotion to come out of it. So you want to make sure the last thing they feel is that feeling that they went into the book wanting. So that's important to remember when you're doing it, is you want to make sure it's satisfying, but then also carries the tone of your book.
So not necessarily that it sets the stage for something in the future, or like it sets it up for, and the next chapter's coming from a end of a book perspective.
Yeah, so some of them
But-
can. If it's a series,
Yeah,
you
I'm
can.
just saying not necessarily.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going for that. It's just you're going for wrap it up in the same manner that you started.
Yes. Yeah. You want them to be able to kind of feel that full circle of like, I got something out of this. I feel good about it. Because if you tell a whole story and you ask all these questions and never give any answers, they're not going to have that, okay, like, I got something out of it. I'll read the next one. They're going to be like, I'm just frustrated. I don't want to read the next one.
Yeah.
So that's where the satisfaction kind of comes in. But you can definitely leave it open enough to kind of engage them into going to the next book or movie or chapter, if that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just a quick thought on like last lines.
Mhm.
Did you ever watch Nightmare on Elm Street?
No,
Freddy Krueger.
I don't think so.
So you get through the first movie, they set it up where it could be standalone or it could go on to the next movie.
Okay.
Do you know the premise of Freddy Krueger?
No.
So if you go to sleep, like at night at all, Freddy Krueger might show up in your dreams.
Okay.
And if he does, it's like this nightmare hellscape where he chases you down and then kills you in your dreams.
Oh.
But whatever he does to you in your dreams happens to you in the real world. And he has this
Oh.
glove that has knives on the fingers
Okay.
that he slashes people with. So it's like literally a slasher
Nightmare.
nightmare movie.
Okay.
But in that movie, you know, he lives in dreams. So how do you defeat somebody that lives in dreams? Well, it gets through like you have all the conflict. It's teenagers and they start getting murdered in these in horrendous ways, and it's blamed on other teenagers because like obviously the police are not going to be like, somebody's murdering you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Well, let's go arrest this dream person. You know, it's
Yes.
doesn't happen that way. Anyway, the protagonists fight him off, and they go through all this stuff to figure out how to defeat him. And then the very last scene of the movie, it shows all the teenage kids who survived. They get in a car and they're talking, and as they're driving away, there's these two little girls that show up throughout the movie, and they're skipping rope. They just be a girl, and she sings this thing: 1, 2, Freddy's gonna get you. 3, 4, better lock your door. You know,
Yeah.
and just this creepy little song, and the kids are like, they realize they're driving past, and there's the little girl, and they're like, oh, no, banging on the window as the car drives away, and the mom is standing in front of the house waving at them nicely, and there's a little window, like a front door window that's like it's not a peephole, but it's like a little look out and see who's at your door window.
Yeah.
So it's smaller than your face. And as the kids are watching and the mom is waving, all of a sudden a hand breaks through that window that has a glove with knives on it, and it grabs the mom by her face and rips her through through the window.
Okay.
And then like that's the end of the movie.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So it's like the whole like he was defeated, all this stuff, and then it's like, wait a minute, are they back in a dream? Did he come into the real world?
Yeah.
What just happened? So the very beginning, everything that was set up and all this stuff, tension and chaos and everything that happened in the beginning, that's the closing scene of the movie.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fun, but yeah.
Yeah. Horror slasher movies, but
Yes. Well, it ended with the right tone. I mean,
Yeah.
you're creeped out by the end.
Yeah. So that from a movie perspective, I'm trying to think through like books or movies. It's hard to remember like what's in a specific line in a book that you've read.
Yes.
You
That's
know,
that's
or-
why I wrote things down and I
Yeah.
have notes, because it's like I'm not going to remember all these, but I want to make sure we have examples because otherwise it seems kind of vague.
Yeah.
So,
So let's dive in. What are your
Yeah.
last line types?
So the first type is kind of the one everybody thinks of. I call it a promising future, but it's kind of the happily ever after. But most people associate that with a romance, and it's not necessarily a romance. It's just okay, we've set out to do something, we've done it, things are looking bright. So things are like in a good spot, but then there's always that promise of what's going to happen off the page.
Yeah.
Because readers always want to know that the characters continue to live on, that something's happening down the road. In romance novels, it's usually they're going to get married or, something like that. Like they allude to something coming down the path kind of thing.
So along the lines of the literal, like the stories that used to end in, and they lived happily ever after.
Yes, exactly.
Like that's a pretty cliche.
Yeah, not many people use
Wrap
that
up.
anymore.
but it's literally like some version of "and they lived happily ever after."
Yes, yes, exactly. So a couple examples. One is from I use this one a lot with you guys. The Lies of Loch Lamora,
Mhm.
by Scott Lynch. It's a heist novel, basically. It follows a gang of thieves, and they set out to do this amazing heist or whatever. And at the end, they're, kind of done what they're going to do, and they're heading off. And so the last little bit says they're on a ship. So the galleon rode south before the winds of a storm, and the last few glimmers of the false light faded behind them. The lights drew down into the darkness, and then they were gone for good, and the rain swept in like a wall above the surface of the sea. So it's that idea of that they're literally riding off into the sunset. I
Yeah.
mean, you see the light fading and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also the idea of the rain sweeping in behind them, kind of protecting them from pursuers or anyone trying to get them. It also kind of gives a little bit of a conflict because, you're going off into the storm. So maybe they'll go and try and steal from someone else, or,
Yeah.
they might still get caught. So it kind of gives that hint of a future, but mostly it's pretty, okay, look, we've done what we're going to do, and we're heading off, we're escaping, we made it. So it's kind of that happy ending type thing. And then I also, so with each of these, I have a book example and a movie example, because
Okay.
I don't assume everybody's going to read the same
Yeah.
books I do. And they might not watch the same movies either. But the movie example I have is Ever After, A Cinderella Story. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah, I'm like I remember the line.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yes. So essentially, this is the story of Cinderella, but it starts out with two guys showing up to this manor, this older lady, and they have glass slipper, and they're like, hey, we're trying to write fairy tales, and we heard about a girl that wore this glass slipper. Can you tell us the story? So this old lady tells the story, and it ends up being pretty much the story of Cinderella. I mean, she has a different name and stuff. But at the end, we get back to the old lady, and she's telling them the story kind of stuff. And so her last line is, and while Danielle and her prince did live happily ever after, the point, gentlemen, is that they lived.
Yeah.
So you have that it's a happily ever after with the story within the story, like the Cinderella story, but then even outside of it, she's trying to say like, hey, look, like the point is that they had a future, they have lived, they have, had that life of happiness.
Yeah.
So it also gives that promising future kind of feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, Cinderella story. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister loved it growing up, so I watched it quite a bit. So I was like, okay, this one I know does it. I mean, but most romances do.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much look at any romance. I mean, they end with a proposal, or they go on another first date, or, they get married, or there's always, I mean, it's always that happily we got what we wanted, and then like we'll continue our lives together kind of idea. But you can apply it to other ones, which is why I use The Lies of Loch Lamora, because I want to make sure people know it's not just romance that have these last lines. Like you can do it with any story.
Yeah. I was just thinking of two examples that I don't know if they fit into this category or not. So maybe they'll come up with fit under other categories. But one is Secondhand Lions. Have you seen that?
I have. I don't remember the last line.
So the last line, the son of the sheik, the wealthy sheik who had all the gold and everything, the helicopter lands. So the two old men have died.
Yes.
They crashed their plane, and the boy who's now grown up is standing there, and then helicopter lands, and it's the sheik who, from the story that they told earlier on, and then the son walks out and they meet each other, and he's like, yeah, I was here and I heard about this. These, like these two men are the men who took all the gold from it was his father or his grandfather.
Okay.
And then that guy has a son, and his little boy is like, you mean all the stories grandfather told? Those men really lived? And then the boy who was raised by Hub and the two guys.
Yeah,
the McCann brothers.
Yeah.
The boy, he looks and he's like, yeah, they really lived. And it's like that dual meaning of, yes, they were actually alive. but also that sense of they actually lived life
Yeah,
to
to its
its
fullest.
fullest, you know. And just before that, the sheriff had said, like, you know, they went out with their boots on, you know, and then the press were all here because when do you ever hear about two 98-year-old men flying an illegal biplane,
Yeah.
trying to fly it through a barn and crashing and dying?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So
But
that whole thing, that whole last line of, yeah, they really lived.
yeah, and that kind of gives a happy feel to, you know, kind of what a sad ending
Yeah.
it was. So yeah, it definitely does that. It might have thematic as well, which we'll get into later. I don't know which one I'd put it under, but it does have that hint of like, you know what, it was a good life. It was a
Yeah.
happy moment. So yeah. So Jared, any comments on that one?
No, I think that's pretty much how we ended book one.
Yeah.
From the final chapter
Yeah.
of book one. You know, the epilogue was a little different, but
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
lived happily ever after.
Yeah. Our last line is, Tuar took in the sight, relief flooding over her. At long last, they had arrived at Samunas and safety.
Yeah. Which is very much like, hey, we got here, we
Yeah.
did what we had to do, and now we're, you know, better off. But we just arrived at this new place, so there's things still to come.
Yeah.
But in the moment, this is a good moment kind of thing. So yeah. Very good. Okay. So the second one is what I call mirror scenes. So I've also heard it called bookends. I think movies usually call it bookends. But it's basically the idea of where you open up and you close with pretty much the exact same scene. But there's something different so that the ending reflects how the protagonist has been changed or how the world has changed because of the story, that kind of thing. So
Would the Freddy Krueger example, I mean, does it work from a bookend perspective if showing like they went through all of this to realize at the end the beginning is the same as the end, like it didn't change, they thought it had.
did it open up with somebody dying?
I think so.
Maybe.
I don't remember. I have to go back and
Although it didn't really change anything.
that's what I'm getting at is, does the bookend ending work if it's like the beginning and the end are actually, they bookend the story in that we went through all of this conflict and we thought everything was resolved, only to end on psych.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'd put it as a mirror scene. Just because there usually is a shift. If there's not a shift in the story itself, there's usually a shift in the audience or the reader themselves. So one example of this is Patrick Rothfuss. His very first, like his prologue chapter and his very last chapter is pretty much word for word the exact same thing. He changes very few words in it. But what it is at the beginning, we think it's one thing. At the end, when we read it again, our perspective of what he's saying has completely changed based on the story that we were told. So that's one where it's like nothing really changed necessarily. Like in the story world, it was still the way it was, but our perceptions of the story world has changed, which made us see it differently.
Yeah.
So it might fall into something like that, but it might be more probably a premise one.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that one, but that might be one for later. Okay, so mirror scenes. So The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern. Have you read that?
I've read that, but I can't remember.
So it's kind of like a literary fantasy, but it's where a circus comes into town and there's these two people, a guy and a girl, that are apprentices to two major magicians or illusionists. And they are basically in a battle. So they open the circus, but then they are each in charge of certain aspects. And like whichever one does better proves whoever illusionist was better at teaching their apprentices. So it's kind of like a game type thing. But she starts out the story talking to the reader and inviting them to the circus. And then she tells the story and then she ends it talking to the reader again. So her last line is, "You think as you walk away from Le Cirque des Rêves that into the creeping dawn, that you felt more awake within the confines of the circus. You are no longer quite certain which side of the fence is the dream." So she has this very, like I said, kind of literary fiction, very descriptive feel. So it's always, all of her prose is very flowery, kind of dreamlike. So she kind of adds that in here with the tone of it. But then she's saying, like, when we walk in, we were excited for the circus and, all of these, dreams kind of thing that we're going to get to see inside and how it's always magical and stuff. And then now we have her coming out and we're like, well, was that reality or is what's outside the fence reality now?
Yeah.
So you kind of have that shift and like, okay, wait a minute. The circus has changed us. And she's actually telling it's changed us as the reader and not necessarily, we know it's changed the protagonist too.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of like, it shows that shift there.
Yeah. I'm trying to, like, either I'm having really weird deja vu
Yeah.
or I've read this sometime in the past, probably through like audiobook. Cause
Could be.
like there are books that, after years, like, I know I've read this, like the story is so familiar, but I'm not recalling any of it. I'll
Yeah.
have to go back and I'll have to find that one and read it again.
Yeah,
or
it's
listen to
kind
it,
of a
whatever.
fun one. I read it mostly because I wanted to study her prose and her descriptions and things like that because she does a beautiful job at like explaining things. But it is a really fun kind of story. It's a standalone, so you don't have to worry about reading the whole series. So, okay, and then a movie example of I went kid version here, The Rescuers. It opens with, all of the mice gathered to figure out how to save this girl who's called for help,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then it ends the same way, but at the beginning you have it's Bernard and Bianca. And so he's just the janitor and he's just trying to help, get the message out of the bottle. And Bianca's like, oh, I'm going to do this. Who wants to go with me? And then she picks him and he's like, oh no, I can't do that. Like, I don't think I can, I'm not an adventurer. I'm just the janitor, So he's very, like, I don't know about this, but she could pretty much strong arms him into doing it. And so at the end, it actually kind of mirrors this. She does almost the same thing, but and the last line is actually her, but you can see in him that he's kind of like, okay, like he doesn't put up as much as a fight. He kind of enjoys it as well. So the last line that she says is, oh, Bernard, adventure, thrills, and free travel, exotic places. Oh, come on, darling, let's go. So it's,
You have to say it with the accent.
I don't have the French accent. I'm sorry.
It's the voice was the lady
Zsa Zsa
from
Gabor.
what's that?
Or, well, it was one of the Gabors. I don't know.
It was from
Yeah.
Green Acres, the wife.
Oh, yes.
Ava Gabor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was her.
Yes.
She was the lady. She was
Bianca.
Bianca.
Yes. Yeah. She gets a great accent for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you kind of get that idea of it. It wraps up how they started it and how they finished it. But it's that idea of him being like, all right, instead of her just being like, yes, you, and then moves on kind of thing. Like she's like excited about it and you can kind of see it in him. So it's not quite in the last line.
Isn't it also like at the end, when all the mice are there again and they're asking for volunteers, isn't she like holding up his hand?
Yes.
She grabs his.
Yeah, they're
so at the
standing next to
beginning,
each other and she
picks him to go. And then at the end, he's looking around and then he realizes, he like looks over and is realizing she's holding his hand up and he's like, what?
Yeah. He's like, okay, I guess I'm going. Like, yeah. So you can see there's still a little reluctance, but at the same time, he's like, okay, like, whereas the first scene, it's very much the dejected, like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So you kind of see the character shift there. So that's mirror scenes. Any comments on those? I was gonna say you already had a few.
I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the mirror scene. I don't know if Nightmare on Elm Street is. I don't remember. I don't remember the opening scene on Nightmare on Elm Street. So
Yeah.
I couldn't.
I mean, there's a few. It's harder. The mirror scene isn't done as much. One other one I thought about was Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but I didn't want to use that line on there.
Yeah.
Like they're in marriage counseling. If anybody's watched it, they'll understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely see the shift in them. Like they go in at the beginning and they're at each other's throat and almost don't care what the other person thinks, and then at the end you can tell they're back to being in a happy marriage. So
Yeah.
you kind of have that back and forth.
Oh, that's well, I guess it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be a mirror scene. But mirror mentality or I don't know. It kind of falls somewhere between the happily ever after and the mirror mentality, and that
Okay.
is the proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds,
Yes.
because it starts with them in conflict and you know, she is like the beast
Yes.
and they can't stand each other, or he can't stand her. But then the closing scene, like you get the feel of now all of the same tension and all the same annoyances are there, except now they're all endearing.
Endearing. Yes.
So it is like a mirror, a reflection of the opening,
yeah.
but like all of this, oh no, she's horrible. She does blah, 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 whatever. And she's like, oh, I totally, you know, just want to punch him right in the face, you know,
Yes.
whatever. But now it's, all of that is now we're in love.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, without knowing what the actual last line is, like I could see where it could go either way. I mean, it's definitely a happily ever after. I mean, you've got the proposal, you know, okay, they're going to get married, so there's the promise of the future there. But there is kind of a mirror in that, the fact that they still are at each other, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Okay, so the third one, I call it character arc fulfillment. So it's basically just about the character arc. But usually it's a statement about the character getting the goal, and it kind of highlights how they've changed. So it's similar to the mirror scene, except for it doesn't have to be an exact mirror. It usually just shows how they've learned whatever lesson is they need to learn, and that they've accepted it and have internalized it, kind of thing.
Like the proposal.
Like
Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. They arced.
There
and
you
they
go.
internalized.
Yes,
There we
yes. So a classic is Harry Potter, the first book, the Sorcerer's Stone. It starts out with him living with the Dursleys, and he's bullied by the boy in the house, and the aunt and uncle don't like him. You know, it's all very antagonistic kind of thing. So his last scene, after being at boarding school and having to go home for the summer, he says, "They don't know we're not allowed to use magic at home. I'm going to have a lot of fun with Dudley this summer." So you kind of get that feel of switch of like he went from being the victim and being bullied to being able to stand up for himself. He might not go as far as being a bully because he can't use his magic. We know that's a rule. You can't use it outside of Hogwarts. But you still get the idea that he's going to stand up for himself now because he's had a little more confidence put into him.
Yeah.
So you see that shift in his character. And then the second one I have, the movie, is Iron Man, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The movie starts out with him, I don't actually know where it is. It's some other country. And he's in a vehicle with the military, and they're going down, and then they get attacked. And, you know, he's very flamboyant, just himself, you know, making jokes and all that kind of stuff. But when the hard time comes, when they're attacked or whatever, he's, you know, bunkers down. He's like, hey, I want a gun. Like, hey, protect me. Like, runs and hides. Like, he's very much trying to just live, get away, doesn't want to stand up kind of thing. And then at the end, we have him at the press conference where he has to give a statement saying that, you know, he was not Iron Man, and, you know, he's whatever, don't look at me kind of thing. And in the end, he ends up looking at everybody and saying, the truth is, I am Iron Man. So it's him standing up.
And then the music cuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that really intense moment of like, I've claimed it.
Yeah.
But it's also him taking responsibility and being like, I don't want to be protected now. I will protect others. Yeah. I mean, he still has this selfish nature. He's still like this crazy personality. Like, he hasn't changed personality wise, but internally he's accepted that idea of, I need to take responsibility. I need to stand up for others. I need to do what I can.
Yeah.
So that's kind of shows his shift. And the intense music doesn't help, or does help.
Yeah.
Does help his little heroic statement.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good, you know, there's so many endings, they could have gone so many directions, they could have gone right there. But
Yes.
to have him be like, the truth is, and then he the truth is, I am Iron Man. And then immediate, pause, freezes. And da, 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 da,
Yes.
da, da, da.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, they stay true to his character there too. I mean, if he had actually denied it, it wouldn't have been quite as believable because, you know, him, he's flamboyant. He wants, look at me, look what I can do kind of thing. So it very much made sense for his character personality,
Yeah.
but also helped his character arc kind of show. So,
He'd also had to change universes
Yeah.
yes.
because that's a DC thing. And
And then we had to go to the other one, Marvel.
he's Marvel.
Yeah.
The big difference between Marvel and DC heroes is that DC heroes keep their identities secret.
Oh.
Marvel, they don't.
You know, I never thought
Except
about that.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man started as DC, I think,
Did he?
or was DC at one time. He's in both universes.
Oh. I did not know that. Huh. Who would have thought?
But well, for the most part, keeps his identity hidden and
Yeah, at least tries
even
to.
carried over in the MCU. Yeah, except for all the times it gets revealed and like the whole world would know.
Yeah,
Except for those.
except for when it doesn't happen.
No, Jared, one I was thinking of that you would know this one pretty well probably. That this arc, and you probably even know the last line and how the arc works. Top Gun.
Okay.
So with Maverick and Iceman,
Mm-hmm.
you have from the very beginning Maverick and Iceman like clashing from
Right.
like the opening scenes of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And the Maverick is like a Maverick, just total wild card and everything. And then you get through the whole show, and what's the last line of the movie
Be my
between
wingman
Maverick and
anytime.
Iceman? What's
Or
that?
I'll be your wingman anytime. Or you can be my wingman anytime.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
he's like, I'll you can be my, or like, now I can't remember. All I remember is when he says like, no, but you can be mine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, depending on the music that's playing, that has totally different meaning. But,
yeah. It still shows that shift from
if the music is you can be mine, and then it goes,
yeah,
totally different
a
meaning.
little different.
But no, that whole thing of their whole character shift, and then the last line is, something like, you're always welcome to be my wingman or something like that. And he's like, no, but you can be mine.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the music.
Yep. So it shows that shift in their relationship,
Yeah.
friendship kind of thing of going from enemies to friends.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's a shared closing statement between the two of them that they literally go from, and then it wraps up even more with Top Gun Maverick. Or is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So Top Gun Maverick, where now it shows Maverick and Iceman, but their relationship is 20 years in the future,
yeah, and they're just good
or
friends.
however long in the future. Yeah, and they're still so close. Still like after all that time.
Yeah,
And the mutual respect that they have for each other that started from this entire character shift that ended with that statement of you can be mine.
yep, exactly. Very good. All right, let's move on to number 4. So this is about theme. So theme comes full circle. So basically, pretty much every book, whether or not the author intends it or not, there's some sort of lesson in there that has to be learned. Usually by the protagonist. Sometimes they try to also make the reader learn it or show the reader a different perspective or something like that. So this last sentence is something where you want it to embody that theme, but then also make the reader think about their own lives in light of that theme. So one example is Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. It's a middle grade novel about a young girl and her father, and she figures out that he has the ability to read a story and read characters out of it, and that she's inherited this ability. And so the book opens up with them reading at night, and she has a book that's whispering stories to her and that kind of stuff. So the last line, and the father's name is Mo, so that'll make more sense for this. But the last line says, "As Mo had said, writing stories is a kind of magic too." So throughout this whole book, she talks about the importance of stories and how you can bring them into your life and they change you, and all those kind of things. And so at the end, she's making this decision of maybe I'll write stories, and not just read them. So it kind of brings that theme full circle of how impactful stories is, how much they've impacted her because she's been able to read these characters out and interact with them and stuff. But then also how she wants to be that impact with other people as well. So it kind of gives you that what if moment, especially if you ever considered being a writer, being like, maybe I can be a writer too.
Yeah.
So
Is that, I'm trying to remember. I haven't read the Inkheart books. My sister keeps encouraging me to,
yeah.
and I just haven't yet. But I have seen the movie. Did you watch the movie?
Yes, a while ago.
Was the movie Brendan Fraser with
It was fairly close.
was it fairly close?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
I was just curious if there was, because I know the bad guys got the daughter and wanted having her.
They wanted her to read stuff out of the books for them because Mo refused to. But then in the end, she figures out that she has the ability to also write the story. And then when she writes it and reads it out loud, she can make it come to being, which is why she thinks maybe I'll be a writer and I'll make my own stories kind of thing. But yeah. Yeah, so pretty similar.
Kind of like us.
Bring our own stories into life. Yes. Every writer loves that. Okay, and then my movie example is kind of long. It's from the Breakfast Club, if you guys have seen that. It basically, a bunch of misfits end up in detention, and one of their assignments is that they have to answer a question posed to them, or write an essay about it. So the ending is basically their letter to is he the principal?
I think he's the vice principal.
Or the teacher, a vice principal? Okay.
I think he's
the one in charge of detention.
Yeah.
Telling them the answer. So what it says is, "Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. But we think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you who we think we are. You see us as you want to see us, in the simplest terms and the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain, and an athlete, and a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club." So you see there that what they've learned through this whole day is that they're a bunch of misfits. They don't mesh together, but they've learned throughout the course of the day that, hey, we can be together. We do have similarities. We are all able to connect. And so that's kind of what they're trying to say here in this letter. And so it kind of makes the readers go like, oh, am I a misfit? I can still connect with people. Or if I don't feel like I'm the misfit, who is it in my group? And, how can I still connect to them? So it kind of gets the person thinking more on the theme of it.
Just like all the toys.
Misfit toys. Misfit Island. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Theme ones. I was trying to think of themes while you were reading that, because I'm familiar with Breakfast Club. I'm like, yep, that spells out the theme of the whole of everything
very clearly.
Yes.
That's why I was like, it's
no
a
question.
long one, but I'm still gonna read it because it's very point on.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think thematic wrapping up scenes or lines.
It's kind of hard to pinpoint them.
I mean, there's one that I would say, I know how the Wheel of Time ends.
Yeah.
But I can't say it because you haven't read Wheel of Time yet.
Yeah.
So I won't say that, but I'm I think that fits. That gives us both from a character perspective and a theme perspective how it wraps up. But I'm trying to think of endings of some other.
I feel like there's got to be kids' cartoons that wrap up that way or something. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of them teach a lesson, but I didn't actually look at their last lines. Because you think of like Moana or something, like it's all about being herself and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
like it's a very impactful thematic movie, but without knowing what the last line is, I don't know if that's what they went for or not.
Yeah. What about, did you ever watch, if I had time, I would still watch it. Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, yes. I've not watched them all, but I have ever watched it.
Yes. So the Phineas and Ferb, there's all like almost everything, their sister tries to like stop them. Perry the Platypus has some kind of parallel story going on, and then they
Yeah.
all end up back in the backyard or back in the house or something like that right before, and they're like, the mom comes out and, boys, what have you been doing? Like, nothing,
Yeah.
like there's always some line that kind of like brings it all back to, and we're done,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know that really falls in the thematic thing. I don't know what that would fall under.
Probably premise if it's surmising what has happened.
Um, Actually, I think in Phineas and Ferb, like it's like dismissive. Every like last line of every episode is dismissing this whole adventure that everybody just went on.
Oh, it's kind of like a comedic punch type
Yeah.
thing.
Like everything that happened, they built a roller coaster that went all the way around the entire city. Meanwhile, Perry defeated Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Evil Incorporated. And then they all end up somehow the entire roller coaster gets sucked off and is no longer there. And they're all there hanging out around the tree, and Perry parachutes in and lands, and then he's just right there
Yeah.
without his hat and no parachute.
Do they start out in the backyard?
Yes, they always,
That might be a mirror scene.
maybe. Like they
I don't know
start
if
off
it-
doing exactly what they did, and the mom's like, what have you boys been doing? Nothing. It's totally dismissed. We had an entire adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be a mirror scene. It wouldn't be a shift for them probably in the story wise, but for the readers, every time they say nothing, we can think, oh no, they did something.
Yeah.
So that could be. Yep. Okay. So next one. So, okay, here's the premise one I keep bringing up. Touch
Okay.
back to premise. So it's the feeling of wrapping up the whole book's struggle in like one line, like one contented, like, here we go kind of thing. So a really good example of it is Mockingjay by Susan Collins. So it's the last book in the Hunger Games series. So her last little bit. So, okay, for anyone who doesn't know the Hunger Games, it's essentially two kids from every district, the 12 districts, have to come in and they have to play this game to the death. Only one gets to survive, and then they bring home food and prestige, I guess, back to their district. So Katniss is the main girl, and she gets into it the first book, and then she spends the rest of the series basically trying to shut them down and stop it. So this last line happens when she's with her husband and they're kind of in the future, and you see that they're living together and that they are living life, and it's kind of like almost a happily ever after kind of thing. And it reads, it's like a game, repetitive, even a little tedious after more than 20 years, but there are much worse games to play.
Yeah.
So it's basically her saying, like, everyday life and trying to pretend like she doesn't have these scars that she has is like a game, that it's repetitive, it's tiring, whatever. But in perspective of what she's gone through, the Hunger Games, which is like the premise of the entire series, it's not so bad. So it calls back to that premise.
Yeah. Yeah, specifically that direct comparison of like, like, well, what do you mean if somebody could, if it was an interview,
Yeah.
and someone was like, oh, well, marriage is just like a difficult game, but what do you mean by worse games? Like, let me tell you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think at this point they might have a child. Maybe not. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've looked at it. But it very much could be like, anytime the kid complains about a game, be like, well, you want to hear about the game I had to play?
Yeah. Well, not only
Talk about
that,
scarring.
like if she is coming now from the perspective of a parent, even playing the game of marriage and the game of raising a child, knowing that I don't ever have to play the game as a parent of my child will
Going
never
off.
have their name
Yeah.
drawn out, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So it really kind of wraps it all up.
Yeah.
And okay, there we go. There's the whole series. I mean, it's not just a book, it's the whole series kind of wrapped up in one line. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was good. And then another one I thought of, movie wise, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if you've seen it. Basically, a rebellious teenager decides to skip school, convinces two of his friends to go, and like causes chaos. Basically, the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
But his last line is, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it." And the whole premise is that he takes a day off because he wants to live life. He doesn't want to sit in the schoolroom and listen to boring teachers. He wants to experience. So it kind of wraps that all up of like, take a day off, play hooky, go enjoy life.
Yeah. Side note, because
Okay.
as soon as you said Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I'm like picturing it, is that there's a fan theory
Yeah.
that if you look at all the things Ferris did and like how everything was perfectly timed, him getting the car and knowing like he's talking about what, what's his friend's name?
Oh, shoot.
Oh God, Simone is his girlfriend,
Yeah.
and his friend
I can't-
Cameron.
Cameron.
Yeah.
I was going to say Brandon. I was like, that's not right.
He's like describing what Cameron is doing while Cameron's doing it.
Yes.
When he's out and he's trying to decide, he's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. And then he gets out. He's like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm not going to go. And then he gets out.
Yeah.
And then he's behind the car, jumping up and down. Like he describes all these different things. And then his relationship with Simone, when they're sitting down talking and he's talking about marriage.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're girlfriend and boyfriend, but she comes across as like, what? What do you?
Yeah. It's like, it's not time for
Like,
that.
someday, maybe,
Yeah.
And he's like, what about right now? Let's just go to, and then like getting away from his dad, the timing is perfect. Even escaping principal and his sister.
Yeah.
And all of these different things that happen. The fan theory is that Ferris Bueller was a victim of a Groundhog Day event.
Oh.
Just he's a high school student and he relived the same day until like
He knew it all.
figured out he knew all of it. And then he just figured out the perfect day off.
Huh.
And that's how like all the timing, everything was like timed down to the minute.
Yeah.
To where everything was the perfect escape, the perfect maneuver,
I could see that.
and it was just, he'd done it so long that now it was the perfect day off.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends, I guess, on if you want to think of it as like he had it all planned out like that, or if he was just that smart that he knew exactly what everybody was going to do and how to get through it, like the
Yeah.
perfect con man kind of thing.
Well, not only that, but like if you look at Ferris Bueller's attitude, it's
Yeah,
very much
Very
like,
whatever.
yeah, like Phil when he's sitting outside and he's watching the guys with he's getting ready to go steal the bags of money.
Yes.
And he's like, a dog barks and there's a gust of wind. And cue the guys. He's
Yeah.
just so laid back. And he's like, and 3, 2, do you have some quarters, Larry? Or
Yeah.
whatever his name is. And then, and drop the quarters. And 3, 2, car. 1, takes the bag and walks off. With
Yeah.
a bag, sack full of money. Just everything he does, by the time he gets to the perfect day, he's so nonchalant.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter anymore.
Like it doesn't matter. Like oh,
That's true.
Dr. Connor, and the lady's like, who are those women? He's like, I don't know. They've been following me around all day. Like his attitude of that last day
Yeah.
is like
It's very
exactly
similar.
Ferris Bueller's
Yeah,
attitude.
you're right. That's
And
crazy.
all the timing and the sequencing and everything that Phil goes through when he finally gets that perfect day.
Yeah.
He's just so casual, confident, nonchalant, as though this is just my life now. This is everything. I'm going through everything. I've got the timing down pat.
Yeah.
Like, but this is just how it is now. That's exactly Ferris Bueller's attitude.
Yeah.
And then even that last line
Mm-hmm.
works with a Groundhog Day
Yeah,
scene.
it does. Yeah, that's crazy.
So anyway, nice little tangent there.
Yeah.
Very fun.
But it was a very fun, like, fan theory.
Yeah, it is,
and
it totally fits. I can see it.
And it was a fun groundhog hole
Yeah,
to go down. So
very punny. Okay, so sixth one, conflict to come. So this is basically ends on a cliffhanger or a hint at troubles ahead kind of thing. You kind of have to be careful with this one because if you leave it with too much, then the reader's going to feel like it wasn't an ending. So you got to make sure you kind of close up some things before you do it so that it's not like, this just ended.
yeah,
So you want to make sure that works out. But it works really good for books in the series if you want them to pick up the next book in the series or whatever to have that conflict to come ending line. So one that's good is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. It's the last book in her duology, Six of Crows, if you've heard of it. But it follows a heist group as well. And they're trying to do this like basically impossible feat.
I've heard of Six of Crows, but I don't know anything.
Okay. Yeah. So it follows a team of crooks, basically. They try to do this impossible heist in book one. Something goes awry. And then in book two, it's basically them finishing it up. And the guy that's in charge of it, Kaz, he is like the con man. I mean, he can work his way around anyone, basically.
Yeah.
So the ending line is actually the last chapter in the book is the antagonist or the bad guy's POV. So he's looking back at like having just gotten to be the victim of this group. And his line is, "He'd drink to the whole sorry lot of them, but mostly to the poor fools who didn't know what trouble was coming." So you kind of have that
so, like-
satisfying feeling of like, they did it, they got away with it, he can't do anything about it. But he also kind of takes his hat off to him, like, you know what, you guys were pretty awesome. That was cool. I feel bad for your next target, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
so you get that it's conflict. Like, you know, they're gonna go do it again, and they might not pull it off the next time.
Yeah.
But this time they did. So it has that nice, and it's an ending. It's not like there's a next book in the series. Like that was the end. So that was a good example of it not following into another book. And then a movie example, Home Alone, which I feel like everybody should know. Basically, a kid gets left home alone on accident at Christmas time, and two burglars are trying to get in the house. And so it's a whole comedy of him trying to keep them out of the house and protect, you know, his place kind of thing. And he has this very antagonistic relationship with his older brother, Buzz. And, you know, like, don't touch my stuff, leave me alone, is all we see of him pretty much at the beginning of the movie. And then at the end, it almost feels like they're maybe building a little bit better relationship of like, hey, you know, like, you did a good job, little brother, kind of thing. But then the last line is Kevin, the little boy, looking out the window. And you hear in the background, it says, "Kevin, what did you do to my room?"
Yeah.
And it's his big brother's voice. And you're like, oh, conflict.
Well, they did that. They have like the exact same thing, Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Oh, it's the same one as the second one?
No, I mean the same scenario.
Oh.
Home Alone 2.
Okay.
Kevin takes the two little doves out to the lady who, you know, who's homeless or who, you know, lives up in the belfry
Yeah.
and feeds the birds. And he remembers her, and you have this sweet little scene. And then you hear, while he's standing all the way out in the park, miles from their big hotel room that they're in, you hear the dad's voice screaming, "Kevin, you spent $188 on room service," or however much, you know, I don't know, however much money. You spent all this money on room service, and he's like, "Oh," and that's, you know.
Yeah, the same shocked look, like, oh no,
Yes.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, they did the exact same
Yeah.
type of, you know, theme to end both movies.
Yes, yeah. No, and that's great. And it is a good one. I mean, because it's not like you're, oh, like, oh no, what happens next? Like, okay, it's a sibling
Yeah.
dispute, whatever. But you do have that hint of conflict that, okay, life continues and it's not going to be easy for him, even though he did all this.
Yeah.
He's still kind of the oddball in the house kind of thing. So, but yeah, that was a good one. Okay. Last one is plot reveal or twist. So basically, it's the idea that you leave them with a line that kind of shocks the readers. This is one that you shouldn't do unless there's a next book, usually, because a reveal or a twist it's a big deal. It shifts everything about the story. And if that's the last thing you ever, like, if that's literally your last line, like, sometimes it's like on the last page, but you have a couple paragraphs where you kind of think through it with the protagonist or whatever. You get their feedback on what they think of it. That works. But if it's the very last line, you usually don't want to do that unless you have a next book, because it's such a big shock that the readers want to process it with the characters. They want to know, how does the protagonist react? How does this change the story? How does this impact that? And if you don't have that wrap up, they're usually not going to feel super satisfied with it.
So if you ended Star Wars on, no, I am your father.
Yeah, and then just like,
And then
done.
And
Yeah, that wouldn't have gone over quite as well. Yes. So one example is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks, which I know I bring up a lot with you guys, but I love that series. But it's essentially, it follows a guy who he's great at everything, basically. And he knows there's an appointed time when he's going to die. Like, he knows that he won't die before then. Like, I'm going to die in, I don't know if it's like 2 years or something like that. Like, he knows I have this much time, whatever. But throughout the whole story, like, he's tempting death, basically. And there's some times where you think, he's really going to die this time. And then he doesn't. So you get to the end, and the last line they leave you with is, he didn't have 5 years left. Oh, I guess it's 5 years. He didn't have 5 years left. It was starting now. Gavin was dying. So you're like, oh my goodness. Like, we thought, okay, like, we have this series. He's got 5 years. Like, he's basically trying to right all these wrongs. Like, he's got all this time. He's going to get it done. And then, like, you realize, like, okay, he's literally dying now, and he doesn't know how long it's going to take, but he's already on his way. And so, like, now he has to prioritize all these things he wanted to fix. What's the most important? So, like, as readers, we're all like, oh no, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? So if you had left it there, we probably would have been like, no. But we have the next book in the series that helps us see how he spends his time.
Yeah.
So you have that continuation. And then movie-wise, one that it doesn't have a next movie to it, but it actually works, is The Illusionist. So spoilers for this one. He basically fakes his girl's death and then tries to plant it on the husband, this other guy in her life. And so you go through the whole movie thinking, okay, the husband killed this woman that the illusionist was in love with, and so he's trying to get back and expose the truth and all this kind of stuff. So you spend the whole movie thinking this, and literally the last line of it says, everything you've seen is an illusion. It's a trick.
Yeah.
And then you see him in the meadow with this girl who supposedly is dead, and they're getting to live together, kind of thing. So it basically shifts everything you see, and you're like, oh my goodness, like you have, it works because you have that scene, like, it's the narration saying it over the scene of them getting together in the field. If you had just said that and it was done, we probably would have been like, wait, what happened? What's going on? But because you see them happily together in this field with this house, their own
If that
life.
was just written in a book, you'd be like, what?
Yeah, it would have been like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, but because we got to see that with the movie, it works really well.
Yeah. I was thinking from the tension perspective on one that keeps jumping into my head is the Bourne. I think it's the second one, maybe the second one. And this one, it's the same kind of thing, but with the scene, like, it works for the scene.
Yeah.
Leaves you on that tension and everything, where you see Jason Bourne. You see, what's her name?
Pamela.
Pamela. So Pamela's being on the phone, she's talking to Jason and everything, and you keep seeing him. You don't know exactly what he's doing. You just see him talking and stuff. You see her, and then he says, "Get some rest, Pamela. You look tired." And then it shows, the music,
Da-da-da-da.
yeah, and then it shows him, and he's looking through a rifle scope at her.
Yes.
And then he picks up the rifle and walks off.
Yeah.
And like that trailing tension and then the panic, jumps back to the office, and they're all like, "Whoa, what?"
Yes.
And she's looking out the window, and then it cuts, it goes away.
Yeah, that definitely hints at the conflict to come kind of thing of like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one.
But sorry, going back to this one,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that illusionist one, like movies do have that advantage where picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yes.
When I think of movies, it's more difficult to think of like a specific line versus a
closing image
scene or
Yeah.
closing image. Like going back to the one with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mhm.
That whole thing, there aren't any words. There's no line other than
Yeah.
a little girl jumping rope and creepily singing, about Freddy coming to get you.
Yes.
Other than that, like nobody speaks.
Yeah.
You see the kids banging on the window because the windows go up and the doors lock as the car pulls away, but they're like stuck in the car. They can't get out, and they're like, but you don't hear anything. You just see them, and then the mom's waving like she has no idea what's going on, and then gets her, rips her
Yes.
through the door.
Yeah. And I definitely think, I mean, it's not an ending line, but it seems, unless it's a mirror scene, if somebody else is killed, kind of similar at the beginning, but it kind of seems like a premise ending where it's called back to the premise of, this nightmare guy that's going to come and get you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Different ending scene, but where I'm trying to think where this one would fall. If you've seen it, Legend with Tom
yes.
Cruise and Tim Curry and Ferris Bueller's girlfriend, Simone.
Yeah, I think I have. It's been a while though. I don't remember the ending.
So the ending to that, like you have the whole thing where the bad guy, Tim Curry, he's got his claws on one side and the horn on the other, and then Tom Cruise chops his hand off, and they recover the unicorn horn.
Yeah.
And then they go back in the closing scene. They put the unicorn horn back on, and now the unicorn's there, and then it shows all the fairies and fae characters all jumping and dancing, and the unicorn stands up, and the music is "Legends can be now and forever" playing and everything, and it's all flowers and tulips, but then the music shifts and becomes darker, and the scene fades as the sun sets, and it goes to darkness, and then it goes to the Tim Curry character's face and his laughter. He's like, "Oh," and then it goes to the credits, and I'm like, what does that mean?
What is that?
What is that closing scene?
Yeah, it's a twist
where
of
does that-
some sort, but
I
like,
know, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not sure what the twist is. They never made another one, so I don't know. But
it's probably
I don't know
why.
what that would fall under from a closing. You
I
you
mean-
get the first impression of happily ever after,
But it's definitely conflict
and then
to come kind of thing because of
Yeah.
that. But also a twist, except for it wasn't explained, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
follow that.
I'm like, did he not die? He like got sucked out into darkness.
Yeah.
Was he not really dead?
It was the 80s.
Got
It
it.
was the 80s.
Yeah, all the music is like synthesized, so maybe it just goes along with that.
There you go. That works. That works. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That one was weird. But so anyway, so that was the 7 types. So lots of different ones. For anyone listening or watching that would like that in a written format, there is one on my website, lizverity.com. You can go and just put in 7 types of last lines, or just last lines probably. It'll pull it up, and you can actually see this all written out. And I think there's different examples than what I have in here. There might be some similar, but there might be different ones too. But we were talking earlier about your guys' book and how you have the ending of the last chapter, which we read, which is kind of the promising future, kind of the happily ever after thing.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how you had an epilogue last line too, and maybe we could
Yeah.
see what kind of that one is.
Yeah, so in this we've just had the scene. So the Tawara and Athandra arrive at Samunis and safety. And then the epilogue is Corvin dealing out his version of justice.
Yeah,
And
bloody justice.
we get his frustrations with how his plans have been disrupted and how he deals with that.
Yes.
And then there were preparations he would need to make before he returned to the Bronze Palace. He turned his mare and rode back toward the city as he considered the new webs he would have to weave to accomplish his goals.
Yeah. So definitely kind of a conflict to come type ending where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, my plans are destroyed and I have to make new ones and I have to figure out how to do it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like we literally did the legends can be now and forever. Not really. You know?
Yeah. Let me give you a happy ending and then twist it on its head
Yeah.
and say conflict is coming.
Yeah, but we at least explained it. We explained what the laughing Tim Curry
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not left
Horned.
confused.
devil guy, what that means.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, and that's kind of fun because it kind of subverts your reader's expectations there. If you went from like, oh, happy ending to, oh, there's another one. Let's see what's here. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, like I need the next book now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it worked really well.
Yeah, so I don't know which one we were talking about that just briefly before we started. Like, I don't know which one would be considered like the last line. Is the last line of the chapters the last line? Is the last line of the epilogue the last line? There are some people who don't read prologues or epilogues.
Yeah, true. I would say the last line of the book is the last line of the book. Like, I mean, like epilogue would be my thought because it's whatever you read, the last thing the readers read. Now, if they don't read the epilogue, then that's their own fault. But like, if that's what you're leaving your readers with, the last thought in their head, I would say that that's probably the last line.
Well, the very last line would be, his wife and children put up with his constant whimsical ideas and will one day pat him on the head while saying, sure, Pop, we believe you.
That was the bio of the authors. I like it.
So if they read that, you know.
Yeah, that might be the last line, but it's not in the story though. That's
Yeah.
just the last line in the book, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but yes.
So we'd have to put, we need to put a disclaimer on the acknowledge or on the about the author's page and be like, we're not in the book, you know.
These are real life people telling you about themselves. We are not part of the story.
Yes.
That's great.
No, so it's interesting to think about, you know, having the last line, like it's always good. Just when you wrap up a story or a chapter or just some kind of tale that you're trying to spin with some profound, a profound statement or a final impression or whatever it is, that last thing, you know, is always that like leave them wanting more kind of thing. Leave them on the edge of the seat. Don't settle down their emotions and walk away.
Yeah, don't bore them before the ending. You want to make sure it's simple. Like you don't want a big complex sentence that takes forever. Like you want kind of simple, straightforward. You don't want to make it cloudy. They need to understand exactly what it means. You don't want it to be cliche.
Yeah.
Because that'll be forgettable. You want something kind of original. But yeah, and then just kind of leave it with a punch. And there really is no exact way to write a last line. I mean, there's multiple. So really you just kind of write multiple versions and you can test them on different people or just pick the one you think works the best. But yeah, it's a lot of just trial and error. There is no formula for a good last line except for, you know, making sure that it's simple, not a cliche, has the right tone, gives some sort of satisfaction from the story, and then you can kind of fall it into one of these types that you want to hit.
Well, and that's the point that I wanted to kind of like circle back around to is thinking about it now from the perspective of, well, now we actually have some not guidelines, but some categories to think about of, well, what do I want my last line to be?
Yeah.
What is going to be the most impactful? And maybe as a writer, you might think, you know, you might just be thinking intuitively, how do I want to wrap this up to really like punch home. But now you can think about, well, how do I want to punch home, and what's the best way to do it?
Yeah.
Is the best way to mirror? Is the best way to be thematic? Is the best way to end on like some tense, some point to tension? Is it to settle my character arc? Or maybe there's a way to like combine a couple of those themes together. Going back to, again, the proposal.
Yes.
Which one is it?
Yes.
Does it have pieces of elements of the mirror and elements of character arc and elements of this theme of comedy, of their specific comedic story? Can you wrap them all, hit on a couple of them to have just this really good punch at the end?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. There's no reason you can't do a couple. I wouldn't do too many. If you try to like hit them all or hit like, 3 to 5 or whatever, like you might end up overwhelming and kind of muddying the sentence, which is why I say kind of keep it simple. Because you don't want to leave them in a state of confusion of being like, I don't understand what that sentence meant. Like you want to make sure it's very clear what your ending line is.
Unless that was the purpose of your entire book.
Yeah, that
maybe you wrote
everything
it
is confusing.
in such a way.
You never know. It could be.
Like leaving off the illusionist and be like, everything you read was an illusion. It's all a trick.
Yeah, and the end.
Like the end. Like, what? You didn't even describe. You just told me this as the narrator.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, exactly. So, since Jared's been quiet, book 2 for your guys' series.
Yes.
Did you guys like? I figure. I think you said earlier you didn't really think too much about the last ending of this book 1. You just kind of did it. Book 2, did you put thought into it? Like, did you feel like it felt like it hit one of these categories, or?
No, just hit it. I'm thinking of the specific line of the last chapter.
Without saying it right now.
Yeah, so you can't spoil it. Yeah, I'm just curious, like, did you guys see, like, okay, maybe it fits? Because we kind of looked, you obviously didn't know the categories when you wrote book 1, and we kind of were able to throw it into one. So I was curious if you were able to identify one, or if you're still kind of like, I don't know.
I think it fits in the character. Like, thinking about it now, I think that fits in the character arc.
Yeah.
But it's the last line of the last chapter, not that we're talking about, not the last line
epilogue.
of the epilogue.
Okay.
We'll have to look at the epilogue.
Yeah, I don't remember what the last line of the
where it's
epilogue
at.
is.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
I think I remember, like, not verbatim, but I know the tenor of that one, and I think it works too. It's very it would what are the 7 categories again? Go in reverse, because I think it's toward the
So, plot reveal a twist, conflict to come, touch back to the premise.
kind of conflict to come. But it's not conflict. It's not presented in a way like in a like a direct threat way. It's more of, because the people as that epilogue wraps up, that scene is a scene of the people in the scene are like joyous.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy. But the statements and what we know as readers is like, what?
Oh dear.
Yes. So for us, we're like, oh, happy characters, yay. They are very happy with what is happening right now. But we as readers are going, I don't think this is going to be good.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it could be a combo of,
Just
happy ending and the conflict.
Yeah, if we just read the last line, we would be like, oh, people are having a celebration. Great.
Yeah.
But
knowing
reading
what
the
you
epilogue
know.
and knowing what you know that happens in book 2,
Yeah.
and all the stuff that is pointing that direction, and then reading the epilogue, then you're going, wait, like they don't know, they shouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my goodness. Well, that'll be fun to read
So
then
it
when it comes
depends.
out.
I can't say that the epilogue has like this good last line, but that's one of the questions I want to ask. From a like, we read the end of the Breakfast Club. We also described like the illusionist, the scene, the Bourne, whichever Bourne movie that was, that scene. Again, from a writer's perspective, you do have an actual last sentence.
Yes.
But in a book, if you can write, like, maybe it's not a sentence, maybe it's like the last paragraph.
Yeah.
Is like, my last line is like, the very last sentence might be like 5 words that wrap up that paragraph, but out of that on its own doesn't really mean anything. But tied in with like the previous 3 sentences, that's like the closing statement. Does that work as well for
Yeah.
a quote unquote last line?
Yes, yeah. There's a few examples I had in here that was like more than one sentence that kind of all go together. So you can definitely do that. It makes it snappier if it's one line you can kind of remember, like I am Iron Man,
Yeah.
like it's pretty obvious. So it just depends, but you can definitely do a couple sentences to kind of wrap it all up, especially if that's the best way to kind of deliver the punch. If making it all one sentence is possible yet confusing, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay to do that.
I kind of see it kind of like log lines and taglines. Like not everything can't have a description, have a line that is Jaws in space.
Yes, correct.
Like you can't describe everything like that.
Yeah.
It just, not everything. Sometimes you need a little bit more than that. You can't have like, let me describe this to you in 147,000 words.
Yes, exactly.
So it is okay then to for your closing line, your last line to be, it's a couple of lines. You don't want it to be too long. You don't want it to be like the whole chapter.
Yeah.
But you do want your closing statement to be pretty short and condensed, and then to hopefully fall into one of these 7 groupings.
Yeah. You can use a couple lines. Like there's nothing really against that. It's really just delivering it in a way that makes it memorable.
Yeah.
So if like with the Night Circus, how just dreamlike her descriptions are, you kind of almost have to put all the sentences together because that's her tone. That's how she does it. That's how she leaves that last image in you. So yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on what you're trying to deliver, because some of these are going to be harder to deliver in one sentence than others.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, if the end of your story was, as he sat on the bench and, looked out at the silhouette of buildings, the world faded to black. Like that could be the end of your story. That could be like the end.
Yeah.
But are we talking about, is that an apocalyptic ending?
Yeah.
Is it,
Did he die?
Did he go blind?
Yes.
Was it actually, he'd been waiting for night to come and now he'd finally defeated day and he's winning.
Yeah.
And now he's sitting on the park bench as he won, and he, daylight was the enemy, and he lived in a world where darkness was where he lived. Daylight shouldn't have ever existed. And so now he won as he sat on the bench and watched as the world faded to black.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
that line by itself
doesn't
could
work.
be the end of a thing.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it means unless you have it in context of the rest of the story.
Yes, exactly.
But that's true with like any of these
with most lines. Yeah, you have to give a little description in order to get them. Otherwise, they won't make sense.
Yeah. Goose or Maverick and Iceman. No, but you can be mine.
Yeah.
Like we said, depending on the music that's playing.
Yeah, could be anything.
Could be anything.
So yeah,
Well,
it's been fun.
it's been fun. A little bit longer this time, but that's okay. Sometimes we go a little bit longer because we have a little bit more to say.
We had some good examples though. Hopefully it made sense to everyone.
Yeah. If not, or if you want to learn more, where do you go again?
LizVerity.com.
Okay.
And sign up for my newsletter, visit the blog, send me a message on my contact page if you have a question, or there's a topic you want me to maybe look into for you. I always take requests and may or may not do them, but I'm happy to hear them. So
yeah, always good to know what people are looking for.
yes, exactly.
Okay. Jared, any closing remarks from any last lines?
Don't have any last lines.
That's a terrible ending.
You have the last one.
I do give the last line. So thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks for coming along for the ride. Go to lizverity.com, look up the look up that information on Last Lines and see what you can do with it to leave your readers wanting more. So we will see you next time. Until then, go in good spirits. Thanks for listening to the Creators Guild podcast. Don't forget to get your copy of A Flight from Shadows, available on Amazon. While you're there, please rate it and give it a review. If you like the Creators Guild, please like and subscribe, and make sure to share it with your friends. Until next time, go in good spirits.